So this is the video summary for chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9 is the law of contracts and sales. So learn about contract law, which a contract is a legally enforceable exchange of promises or an exchange of a promise for an act. And it has to do with case law and statutory law. Talk about the classifications of contracts, like express, implied, unilateral, bilateral, void, and voidable. The elements of a legal case, which are legal offer, legal acceptance, consideration, genuine assent, competent parties, and legal object. Methods of termination of an offer: be for a lapse of time, death of either party, destruction of the subject material, rejection by the offeree, or revocation by the offerer. Let's talk about legal acceptance. Like requirements and the internet and e-contracts. Consideration, which are bargained for exchange of promises in which a legal detriment is suffered by the promisee. Let's talk about liquidated debt. There is no dispute about the amount of other terms of the debt, and it allows a promisee to claim damages based on a former agreement, even if a later agreement was acted upon by the parties involved. Then unliquidated debt, or unliquidated, liquefied. There is a dispute between the parties as to the amount owed by the debtor, and new consideration is given to the latter agreement, and promisee no longer has claim over the former agreement. Talk about promises that lack consideration, like moral obligation and legal consideration. Genuine assent and fraud and duress. Fraud is like misrepresentation of a material fact. Talk about undue influence and mistakes, which are errors as to the material facts. Talk about competent parties. Minors, insanity, and intoxication are all part of that. Talk about legal objects and contracts that must be in writing. Parole, and then types of third-party beneficiary contracts, like intended beneficiary contracts and incidental beneficiary contracts. About assignments not recognized by law, like assignments that materially change the duty of the obligor, assignments forbidden by the state, or any assignment forbidden by the original contract. That's pretty much it for Chapter 9. Chapter 10 was about the law of contracts and sales 2, so I continued. Talk about methods of discharging a contract, which is like discharge by performance, discharge by mutual agreement, discharge by commercial impracticability. Talk about the Uniform Commercial Code and performance of Convention on International Sale of Goods. So it requires a seller or lessor to transfer and deliver conforming goods. Go into depth on like these discharges, like discharge by impossibility of performance, which is a situation in which a party cannot legally or physically perform the contract. We talk about the sovereign acts doctrine, in which a government cannot be held liable for breach of contract due to legislative or executive acts. Let's talk about factors to be considered prior to filing a lawsuit, like the likelihood of the suit's success, whether there is a desire to maintain a business relationship with the other party. Talk about remedies for a breach of contract, like avoidance or cancellation of contract, money damages. Talk about monetary damages or legal remedies, like punitive damages, nominal damages, and liquidated damages. Talk about equitable remedies. It's like specific performance, which is a court order compelling a party to perform in such a way as to meet the terms of the contract. Injunction are temporary or permanent court orders preventing a party to a contract from doing something. About remedies for a breach of sales contract, e-contracts, e-signatures, the Uniform Electronic Transmission Act, which states that a signature may not be denied legal enforceability solely because of its electronic form. The Uniform Computer Information Transaction Act, which deals only with electronically disseminated information. The Global Dimensions of Contract and Sales Law. And like the Convention on Contracts for the International Sale of Goods, which has also been incorporated into U.S. federal law. So that's basically it for Chapter 10. This was summary number 5.